So you can call to order if you like.
Good evening. This is the Tysons Transportation Service District Advisory Board meeting on March 22nd, 2022. The meeting is now called to order. At first, we have an administrative items to take roll call and motion and vote to make sure that everybody can be heard and that we can hold this meeting electronically.
Thank you. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to the March 22nd, 2022 meeting with the Tysons Transportation Service District Advisory Board. My name is Christina Kane, and I work for the Fairfax County Department of Transportation in the Coordination and Funding Division. And I am the staff point of contact for this advisory board. The first item on the agenda is to review the electronic meeting guidelines. To conduct this meeting electronically and to effectuate both the emergency procedures authorized by FOIA, this board needs to make certain findings and determinations for the record. It's a bit cumbersome, so I ask for your patience as we get through these parts. Because of each member of the board is participating in this meeting from a separate location, we must verify that the quorum of members is participating and that each member's voice is clear, audible, and at an appropriate volume for all other members. Accordingly, I will conduct a roll call and ask each board member participating in the meeting to respond by saying here or present and the location of which you're participating from. I ask that each of you pay close attention to ensure that you can hear each of your colleagues. Following this roll call, there will be a vote to establish that every member can hear every other member. So I'll start the roll call now. Jim Policaro.
Here from Leesburg, Virginia.
Thank you. Mark Sett.
Here, Falls-Church, Virginia.
Melanie Clark.
Sorry, that I'm logged under our clerk's name. This is Mayor Linda Colbert from Vienna.
Oh, hi there.
Hi, thank you.
Sorry. Sally Horn. Is Sally here? Chris Off.
Here, Frederick, Maryland.
Donald Garrett.
Present, participating from Tysons, Virginia.
Brad Swanson. Raymond Baxter.
Here, Hollywood, Florida.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Erica Yalowitz. Doug Doolittle.
Here from Tysons, Virginia.
Claudia Diamond.
Here from Vienna, Virginia.
Corey Scott. Evan Pritchard. David Gelfond.
Here, McLean, Virginia.
And Todd Rowley.
Here, Fairfax, Virginia.
Great. So, Chairman Policaro, I open the floor to you to request a motion to vote to establish that every member can hear every other member.
I would like to request a motion that all members are audible.
I so move.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next, having established that each member's voice may be heard by every other member, we must establish the nature of the emergency that compels these emergency procedures. The fact that we are meeting electronically, what type of electronic communication is being used, and how we have arranged for public access to this meeting. The state of emergency caused by the COVID-19 pandemic makes it unsafe for this board to physically assemble and unsafe for the public to physically attend any such meeting. and that as such FOIA's usual procedures, which require physical assembly of this board and physical presence of the public, cannot be implemented safely or practically. Mr. Chairman, I open the floor for you to request a motion to vote to hold the meeting electronically because the COVID-19 pandemic makes it physically unsafe to meet in person.
Would like to entertain a motion to meet electronically because the COVID-19 currently makes it unsafe to meet in person.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
Raymond, did you have a question?
No. I'm just raising my hand to say I agree.
Okay.
Is that easier, or do you want a verbal?
Either one works.
Didn't sound like we had any nays. Okay, so finally, please note it's required that all matters addressed on today's agenda must address the emergency itself or necessary for the continuity of Fairfax County government and or statutorily required or necessary to continue operations in the discharge of this board's lawful purposes, duties, and responsibilities. So now I'll just go over a few guidelines to ensure that the meeting runs as smooth as possible. Please note that this meeting will be recorded. A recording of the meeting will be uploaded to the Tysons Transportation Service District Advisory Board website within 10 working days of the meeting. And to avoid sound quality and feedback issues, participants should keep their microphones muted unless they're speaking. Members of the public who wish to speak may raise their hand to ask a question and unmute themselves when called upon. If you are joining us by phone, press *5 to raise your hand and wait for a moderator to call on you to ask your question. Then press *6 to unmute yourself. The next item on the agenda is an action item to approve the meeting minutes from the November 9th, 2021 meeting. Mr. Chairman, the floor is open for you to request an approval for the fall meeting minutes.
Can I get a motion to approve the fall 2021 meeting minutes?
I so move we approve the fall 2021 meeting minutes.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. And the next item on the agenda is follow-up items. The first follow-up item is scooter usage data that was requested at the last meeting in November. So at this time, we don't have any scooter data from the service provider, and we will continue to work with them to obtain the requested data, and we'll send it out to the board as soon as possible. Then the next follow-up item is, it was a request for a copy of the Route 7 BRT presentation. And so the presentation was sent out to, or it was emailed to the board members on February 25th. So just let me know if you have any questions or if you didn't receive it. And are there any questions before we move on from administrative items?
I have a question, I guess, about the scooter data. Like, how frequently are they supposed to provide it? Like once a year, and we just like missed the year cutoff type of thing, or?
Tom, do you know the answer to that question?
Yes, they're actually supposed to be providing it, I believe, quarterly, and we have not been receiving that data regularly. So that's one of the things the county, and it's not a DOT, they're supposed to be responding to another department. But that's one of the things they're trying to secure from the scooter operators is the regular quarterly data about usage. And so far, there have been some challenges with that. I think one of the scooter companies. There were originally, I believe, 3 of them that had filed for a permit. One of them has discontinued operations in the county, and I don't know the details why. So we're still waiting for the other 2 to do what they said they were going to do. So as soon as we can get that data, we will pass it on to the advisory board.
Hey, Tom, it's Ray Baxter. Are there any penalties associated with not living up to their contractual requirements?
Significant penalties that like fines or anything like that for not submitting data. There's some fines for other things, but the contract doesn't have fines for not submitting data. We didn't anticipate that this was going to be an issue, but it has become a fairly significant issue, unfortunately.
That's unfortunate.
It is.
Yeah.
But we'll continue to pursue it. Contractually, they're obligated to get us that data, and so we may have to go through some other processes to enforce the contract. But we'll see where that goes. Hopefully not. Hopefully they'll provide it, and then we can pass it on to you.
Thank you, Tom. So that, I think, concludes the follow-up items, unless there's any questions. No questions? Okay. So we can get started on the presentation now. Can everybody see the presentation?
It went away, but I did see it for a second.
Oh, it went away? You can't see it now? Okay, let me try again.
Looks like you may have stopped sharing.
Oh. Can you see it now?
Now I see it.
Yeah.
Okay. I
Now
guess
it's back.
you switched from I had the agenda up, it stopped sharing altogether. Okay. Here is a brief overview of tonight's presentation. We'll review the FY22 Service District tax rate and provide development and transportation updates. After the presentation, we'll discuss the 2022 assessed values and the 2023 rate recommendations and project allocations. Just to provide a quick recap, the service district rate was held flat at 5 cents for FY22. Through the end of February, we have collected $8.6 million in service district revenues. $13.9 million in service district revenues have been expended so far on Tysons wide projects. And here is a table that shows the projects that have service district funds allocated and how much has been expended so far. Note that the service district revenues allocated to Tysons Old Meadow and Route 7 Widening, Dulles Toll Road to Reston Avenue have been fully expended. And I'll provide more details on these projects later in the presentation. So the development updates will be given by Beth Elliott from the Department of Planning and Development. And so I'll pass the presentation to her now.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, good. You can share your screen. Okay.
Yes, I'm going to actually walk you guys through the interactive platform that we published last fall, rather than some slides, to give you a sense of how the platform works. So when the comprehensive plan for Tysons was adopted in 2010, the board charged staff with providing annual status updates of plan implementation and development implementation progress. So from 2011 through 2020, the report was produced as a printed document. In the final year, it was approximately 200 pages. And so with the 10-year mark of plan adoption, there was interest from county leadership to revisit how the reporting was done to increase the accessibility and usability of the data. And at that point, we moved to starting to implement the GIS web-based application tools. There are still printing functions built into the tracker if that is your desired approach. And this project reflects a large undertaking led by DPD in coordination with FCDOT, Land Development Services, Public Schools, and Park Authority, among others. And so today we're going to focus on some of the components of this platform and the reporting results from 2021. So just to note, this data is based on what was available through August 1st of 2021. So there are some things that we know are out of date and we'll be updating them later this year. And this represents phase 1 of what is intended to be a multi-year rollout for full digital integration of the data and maps. So you may notice that some of the components within the tracker, as you have a chance to explore, are not yet interactive and may appear as either static maps, charts, and tables. So within this first phase, the full integration and functionality is not complete, but we will continue to advance the GIS work in the coming year. And later in the presentation, I'll actually be able to show you some of the things we've done since publishing in October. And as we move forward, we'll integrate more interactive features. And we're going to continue to provide annual updates of the data. And so to respect your time today, we're going to show you some of the highlights of the tracker and its functionalities, and actually focus on all of the topics that are represented in the tracker, not just transportation, but I know that's what this group focuses on. And we would encourage you to explore it on your own if you haven't had a chance yet, and then reach out with any questions or feedback you may have. So from this landing page, it was linked in the presentation, you can scroll down and view the different sections as individual cards, such as land use, transportation, public facilities. And we've carried forward all of the data that was previously included in the report in almost the same order. So today we'll start with the land use section and end with the overview, just to keep things interesting. So once you click on a particular card, it'll bring you to that section. And as you can see, you can either scroll through or you can click ahead to the different topic areas that you might be more interested in. So here I wanted to highlight the fact that the development levels that are estimated for the near term are closely tracking but do not exceed plan projections. And so there is additional capacity for new development within the plan projections. Scrolling further. So here we wanted to highlight the fact that the residential GFA, shown here in the light purple, has increased since 2011, while the overall intensity or development within Tysons has also increased, which is very exciting to see as we move closer to the anticipated balance of uses. And I'm going to jump ahead instead of scrolling through all the pieces. And so here, this is one of the things that we're working on. And this is representative of what was previously included in the Appendix B of the printed annual report. So for each of these the districts, there's a map, a list of the approved and pending applications. And if you select the district name, and I cheated here, I had them already open, a cut sheet for that district and its breakdown of where the uses stand and the balance of uses between them is available. Going back to this page, if you select one of the applications, in this case, I've got the view already open to show you. A more detailed look at that zoning application and entitlement is available for view.
So it's Ray Baxter. Can I ask when you talk residential, are you talking both rental and ownership?
Yes, we do not or separate out those uses. Buildings may change over time, and that's not something that we're tracking. So one of the other things I wanted to show you is the Tysons development map. This is one of the pieces that we are the most excited about. And you can get it from here or from the main landing page. And so by selecting or going to the map, it opens a separate application. And it includes the approved CDP plans for each of the major Tysons development cases. And this is actually something that we've managed to add a couple features to in the last year. One of them being that within the layers, under the Tysons plans data, is all of the layers from the comprehensive plan. So you can overlay the plan vision from the comprehensive plan over what's been implemented so far, which has already been helpful, at least from our end. Some of the other features include the ability to change the base map. And if I zoom in, you have the ability to swipe. So you can see what is planned and what is on the ground today, which is always exciting to see cranes in an aerial view, in my opinion. And if you are interested, there's the ability to add data. The other item that we've been able to add since publication is a series of renderings for each of the applications. So you can kind of get a feel for what they would be like in a perspective rather than plan view. So from here, I
have a question
Yeah.
about, I guess, those images. So those come after they get approved by, I guess, the county board, or is it what's being proposed by like the developer?
So those are from the approved package.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of shorthand just to keep the file name manageable. But so these three are all from the approved CDPA, and they're the architectural sheets as 16 and 17 as an example of how my file shorthand worked in this instance, to try to make it legible of where it is. But these are all from the approved plan sets, nothing since then currently, although there are some applications where it didn't have the best graphics, so we may add those over time. Any more questions on the map?
That's a very nice feature.
This shows buildings, not necessarily road improvements, correct?
It shows all of the improvements within the application area. So roads are shown, but as a single image layer.
Maybe I think like I think what he meant is there like another view that shows the transportation improvements similar to how you've shown the building improvements?
That is something that we are working with the Department of Transportation to implement as we kind of add all of the layering of the data, make it work together, and then bring that
Donald,
forward.
that's exactly what I was looking at, is if there was a way to scroll across and see what the transportation or road improvements would be. But you think that that's coming in the future?
Yes,
We
that
do
is on
have
our list of things that we're working with.
We do have a
We're working
static map that shows the implementation of the grid. And I think Christina has that in her presentation. So we can show you that as we get into the detail of the transportation piece. But in the future, that map will be included on the in this tracker as well.
Thanks, Tom.
Mhm. So I'm going to jump into affordable housing before we get too far into transportation and just forget that section. So this is a pretty short section. And as of August 1st in 2021, there were 752 affordable dwelling units that have been delivered and a maximum of 4,642 that are proffered but remain unbuilt. And one of the features that I wanted to show you in here is that throughout the tracker, there are these little info buttons, and when you hover over that, it'll give you additional information. In the case of the graphics, it's usually the title, and in the case of images, it's credit information on each of the photos. So jumping into the transportation.
Reason that the last affordable housing is 2019, is that a lag in reporting, or is it a lag because of COVID and the stopping of construction?
Construction continued through COVID, but that simply was that no residential buildings were delivered that were supposed to have affordable units within them within that time period.
And is there anything planned? Let's see, nothing in 2020 or 21, anything planned in 22?
We believe that there are buildings that may finish construction before the data cutoff this summer, but we won't know for sure until we get closer.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. So jumping into here, actually, I can show you the grid of streets map right now. We just haven't layered them yet. So this is an interactive map. Scroll with the plus and minus, and then the legend has quite a few options just to clearly delineate what stage of implementation each of the grid streets are in. And this does not include streets that have not been part of a development application yet. So this is one of the interactive maps that was developed for last year. We just haven't had a chance to layer it with the other one yet. And then one of the other maps that was developed last year was this infrastructure improvements map. Each of these takes you to the website for the application. Or no, sorry, this jumps you to it on the map. And then if you select the icon, you can get additional information about the project and the website. We debated on which one that was going to be, and I forgot. So from here, I'm going to navigate to the environmental stewardship page and let Christina focus on the rest of the transportation updates, since I want to make sure I don't take too much of your time this evening. So here, so I'm going to jump ahead. And so this is one of the features that has been included in previous years. And one of the things that we wanted to highlight is that there is a interactive map of the DPWES stream projects, and that's available here for easy viewing access. And we are working again with our partner agencies to try to merge that data with the data that's currently within this table to be able to present as one complete package that is interactive. Moving or jumping ahead again, the public facilities section. So within this section, we have another interactive map, and in this case, there are the existing facilities and the proffered facilities. And if you select one of these, it'll zoom right to that. And then if you click on one, it's usually easier to select, you're a little closer, additional information will appear on the facility as well. And you can kind of toggle between features, and it'll show you other layers that are also within this map, such as zoning applications on the properties. Continuing to jump ahead, we to the schools section, and I'm going to jump all the way to the end of this one to show you one of the new features that was added for the 2021 publication, which is this chart of the proffer contributions to kind of get a sense of the amount of proffer contributions that have been proffered versus what has been received and spent to date, or distributed to date. And this is a new section that we were able to add this year. Dive into parks. So within this section, we have both a static map and another interactive map. So within this interactive map, you can select, or users can select each of the park spaces to see the park classification and zoning case information. In addition to the interactive map, we have tables and charts shown throughout the tracker. And so for each of these, there's the ability to select it, which would then open it for easier viewing, depending on what size device you're viewing this website on, which is really great as screens get smaller. Finally, I'm going to jump to the last section, which is implementation. So from here, we wanted to highlight a couple things and another navigation tool. So on the side, you may see these little bullets, and you can sometimes hover over them and get them to tell you what they are. Other times, you just select the one you want. So one of the things was a little over a year ago, the board adopted a revised comprehensive policy plan amendment for workforce dwelling units, and this applies to Tysons and throughout other areas of the county as well. And so we wanted to highlight what those changes meant for Tysons. Here we have the numbers, and this one does work. So one of the things that we worked on for the last year or so with as a staff team and with the Tysons partnership or representatives is to create design guidance to assist with the implementation of the Tysons community circuit. So this was a sketch that we did in trying to realize what the details would be at various intersections. And finally, I wanted to highlight some of the interim parks that were implemented last year, or within the last reporting cycle, and some of the events that took place as well. There have definitely been events since then, but as I mentioned before, this is based on the August 2021 cutoff. So from here, I'm going to end the presentation by going into the overview. So within the overview, there is actually a link to a new website that we created for the follow-on motions. And so this has the detailed information for each of the 20 follow-on motions that the board approved when they adopted the plan in 2010, along with updates for each of them provided chronologically. So what happened first to what is currently ongoing, and this will be updated annually as well. So from here, I will get you to the data highlights to finish. So as you can see, there have been 42 major rezoning applications that have been approved in Tysons as of August 1st, or yes, as of August 1st, 2021. JR's was approved within the last reporting cycle. Currently, there are 5 rezoning applications and 6 FTPs under review. Some of those have since been approved. There are 6 site plans, or there were 6 site plans under review. 1.2 million square feet was approved, had an approved site plan, but was not yet under construction. As of that time, 3.9 million square feet were under construction, and a little over 300,000 square feet were delivered within the last reporting cycle. Along with that, the Scotts Run Trail, which you guys have heard about probably frequently, that's delivered. A few new Ultimate Park spaces, including the Perch, was delivered, and Fire Station 44 in Scotts Run South area. And as you can see here, the jobs to household ratio is at 6.4 in 2021, and that is getting closer to the 4 jobs per household ratio than where we started in 2010 at 11.7 jobs per household. And so with that, I will conclude the presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you guys might have on the other sections.
This is Mark Zetz. I have a question on the tracker.
Mm-hmm.
I have a copy of all 10 prior published reports. And the nice thing is that each one of them is a snapshot. And I can go back year after year and look at the chronology of developments. Many of these huge developments are multi-decade. They take a long time. And with this tracker, is there a way of taking a snapshot in, let's say, in August, and I can always go back and look at the state of this tracker on August of 2022 or 2023? It seems to me it's ephemeral. It just keeps changing.
It does, Mark. You're absolutely right. This is Susie Batista with the Urban Center section. I think it's definitely something that we can look into as to how we can kind of preserve that snapshot in time and make that available through the Tysons website. We could look at PDFs or some other ways to kind of memorialize where things were in a certain year. Since the tracker is intended to kind of evolve, and we will be doing, obviously we'll still be doing your annual updates. So I think that's a great idea, and that's something we'll definitely think about as we're developing this year. We've already started working on updates for this fall. So thank you for that suggestion.
So publishing to a PDF, I think that would do it. It'd probably be too large, but that's beside the point.
No, that's great. And, we're working also on updating the Tysons website, which is, frankly, it's woefully out of date. And so we've been working to try to get that updated and working with our partners in FCDOT. So that's good. We will definitely check with our GIS folks and see what's possible in terms of how to, kind of have that available publicly, that snapshot in time. That's a great idea.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're saying one of the other things I didn't mention, because I didn't show you all of the maps, is there are some data sets where we have multiple years within each data point, whereas one is represented graphically. So that's something that we will continue to build out moving forward.
Are there any more questions on the Tysons tracker? Can everybody see the main presentation again? Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Great. So we'll move on to transportation updates. And here is a map of the 17 major roadway projects approved in the comp plan amendment to be funded by the service district tax revenues. Out of those 17 projects, 1 is complete, 2 are under construction, and 8 others are in study, preliminary engineering, or design. Here's a picture of the Route 7 pedestrian bridge over Dulles Toll Road that was completed in May 2018. And here's a picture of Jones Branch Connector completed in February 2020. Route 7 widening Reston Avenue to Dulles Toll Road. This project will widen Route 7 from 4 to 6 lanes from Jarrett Valley to Reston Avenue. The total project estimate is $314 million. Construction began in spring 2019. It's 59% complete, and it's estimated to be completed by summer 2024. Route 7 widening Route 123 to 495. This project constructs 2 new lanes in the median for future BRT while widening the roadway to outside to preserve the 6 lanes from Route 123 to 495. The Board of Supervisors approved the final BRT recommendations in July 2021. Design will continue, including the approved BRT lane alignment. Staff recommends allocating $7.8 million in FY23 to service district revenues to fund partial design. And so we'll discuss that later on in the presentation unless there's any questions about it now. I-495 overpass at Tysons Corner Center. This is a shared use trail from Route 123 to Old Meadow Road. The total project estimate is $12.3 million, of which $4.6 million is funded by service district revenues. Design and right-of-way are complete and construction began in August 2021. The project's estimated to be complete by summer 2022. And here is a picture of what the overpass is expected to look like once it's completed. So a few other projects that are underway: Route 7 widening 495 to 66. Design is underway. $10.5 million in service district revenues have been allocated. Design will continue now that the BRT recommendations were approved by the board in last July. Ramp from Greensboro Drive to Dulles Toll Road. A study began in July 2021 and will hopefully be completed this summer. And $1 million in service district revenues have been allocated to this project. And so we have a new project that we've added on Tysons Fire Station and the Transit Center at Tysons West Park. This project redevelops the fire station on Jones Branch Drive to include 5 fire station bays and a 7-bay transit center. And it will also provide new access to the Dulles Toll Road. The total project estimate is $20 million and design is underway. So now we'll cover some of the Tysons Table 7B projects. Route 123 modified intersection treatment study from 495 to Dulles Connector Road and 495 to International Drive. Multiple options are being considered for both projects. Development analysis of preferred alternative was completed in summer 2021, and final recommendations are due by spring 2022. And here is a picture of the study area that of what the study area covers. A few other table 7B projects that are underway. Cleveland Ramp. This project modifies the eastbound off-ramp from Dulles Toll Road to, or I'm sorry, Dulles Access Road to Route 123. Two options are being considered, and this project is included in the Route 123 study that was previously mentioned. It may also be included in the I-495 next related work.
I have a question about that. Because currently when you drive, I guess, like on this whole road back, you get charged like an extra $250 or whatever to go from the Route 7 exit to get to like the 123 exit. Would that ramp, like, is that to try to stop that extra toll, or is it just kind of be like an improvement of, like, I guess the infrastructure is already there?
So what the ramp will actually do is it will allow people to get from the eastbound Dulles Connector Road, which we would call it, that the connection between the Beltway and I-66, without going all the way to 123. You'll be able to use the grid of streets to get to Scotts Run and into the Capital One development, and then over to the west side of the Beltway as well, without having to go on 123. So the purpose is to really divert traffic off of 123 to reduce some of the congestion on 123 by allowing an additional path, the grid of streets, to get to the Capital One area, and then to Gates of McLean, and then across to the kind of the west side of the Scotts Run connector.
That makes sense.
Hey, Tom, of course, this is my favorite. It's Ray, my favorite area, Route 7 and 123. It seems like this is always on hold, always being pushed to the right, never seems to have a project schedule. And yet I will tell you, that's my longest commute to get, is getting out of Tyson's Corner past that intersection. And so can you shed a little light on perhaps what's causing the hold and when we might see some resolution?
So first of all, this was on table 7B, so it's not part of the original 17 Tysons wide improvements. And we're really trying to focus on getting as many of those done as possible because those are funded. The projects on table 7B are not funded. And, you know, to be honest with you, the designs that we have received for Route 7 and 123 are excessively expensive. And so we need to continue to work with our to try and reduce the cost of that project so that we think we could have a chance of funding it. Right now, the concepts that we have, it's impractical to even bring those forward because they're not something that we think we could fund in the future. Okay. So that's what the delay has been, is to try and get them to a particular configuration that we think we can potentially fund in the future. But right now, we don't have that. So that's why you haven't seen anything on that.
So has any study been done on how far the traffic will back up on 123 back to 66 once those lanes are widened and then you have to go to a 2-lane bridge into Vienna?
Well, remember that these projects aren't done in isolation. So, well, at the same time, you know, we're working on this project. There's 17 other improvements that we're doing around Tysons that Christina's going to walk through. So it's not like this is the only project that can relieve congestion on 123. So implementing the grid of streets is very helpful because the local traffic can use the grid as opposed to being out on 7 and 123, which they have to do right now. And then there are improvements on both of those roadways that will help to relieve congestion on those roadways as well. So the interchange wasn't assumed as part of the original plan, but it is something we still think has benefit. We just have to get it in a configuration that it is affordable. I don't want to come out and show you a project and have you get excited about the project and then realize that there's no hope of even ever funding the project.
Yeah. Well, I just like to keep it up front because it's, you know, it just seems like when you've got a 6-lane highway passing over a 6-lane highway and you got a 2-lane bridge, basically, it just seems to me that I'm not sure how it got left out originally. But Tom, I know you're looking at it and just appreciate you just kind of keeping an eye on it.
Understood your concern, and I would like to see a solution there too.
Thank you.
Any more questions before we move on?
I have one. This is Doug Doolittle. I have one on the Greensboro Drive connector to the toll road. Is any of the studies looking at the impact of traffic onto Greensboro Drive once it connects to the toll road? I mean, Greensboro Drive is kind of a quiet street at this point most of the time, and when it's connected to the toll road, I see it having all the congestion that International Drive has now, and that's because the toll road backs up. It's not a function of the driving on International, it's a function of the toll road backs up at rush hour and blocks, impedes traffic. And, living at the Rotunda, that will effectively, looks to me like it's going to effectively block both of our access gates. Being able to get in and out during rush hour. So my question is are we looking at traffic flows as part of this project?
Yes, absolutely. So that the design project that's underway right now we'll look at all those traffic implications as part of the development of that project. So the impact on Greensboro as well as other roadways is definitely part of the scope of the work for that project.
Okay, thanks, Tom.
Sure.
Okay, so moving on to the Gritter Streets. Here's the most recent map of the Gritter Streets development as of August 2021. Lincoln Street, this project will connect 123 to McGarity Road. The total project estimate is $47.3 million. 15% design is almost complete and is estimated to be completed by April 2022. Construction is scheduled to start in fall 2025 and is estimated to be completed in early 2027. And the community meetings will be held in spring of 2022.
That's coming up. Is that, are there dates or?
I don't think, Tom, you can answer, but I don't think they've
It's
said
probably going to be May, June timeframe that we'll have there's no date scheduled yet, but the public meeting will be in May, probably late May or early June.
Old Meadow Road realignment. This was part of Dulles Rail Phase 1 funding, and it was completed in November 2020. So this part of the presentation will cover transit service improvements that have been made in the Tysons area. As of March 2022, 16 bus routes operate circulator service, express, peak, and local bus service in the area. And this slide shows a summary of the implemented service improvements in Tysons. New service started in March 2021 when the Fairfax connector reinstated it and converted Metro bus routes 3T and 15K to route 703 and 715. Ridership is recovered about 61% from pre-COVID levels on weekdays and 97% on weekends. Future improvements planned for the area include previously mentioned renovation of Tysons West Park Transit Center, an analysis of the Route 424 alignment to serve the north side of the McLean Metro Rail Station, and a new Route 798 with service from express bus service on 495 between Tysons and Bethesda. And here's more detail on the future Route 798 from Tysons to Bethesda. This route is intended to address capacity issues on 495 by providing a faster transit connection between Fairfax County and Maryland for Silver and Red Line riders. Route 798 will run bi-directional peak service during the express lane construction, and it will be expanded to 15-minute headways and off-peak service once construction is completed. And here is a map of what the proposed new Route 798 will look like. Is there any questions before we move on from transit service? So in addition to making transit service improvements, FCDOT has been working on improving bike and pedestrian access in the Tysons area. Part of these improvements are projects identified in the Tysons Metro Rail Station Access Management Study. This study occurred in 2011 with the goal to prioritize access improvements to the Metro Rail stations in Tysons. 37 of the 41 projects have been completed. 3 are in construction or utility relocation, and 1 is currently in the design phase. And this is a map of the Tim Sams project locations. So the one project that is still in design is Route 7 Walkway from Dulles Toll Road to Abuela Road. This is still in design because it's part of the Route 7 widening from Reston Avenue to Dulles Toll Road. And so it will be completed in July 2024 when the larger project is completed. Or I guess by July 24, hopefully. So moving on to Tysons bike share. 14 out of 15 capital bike share stations have been installed. 18 additional stations are underway in the Providence district, and 10 of those will be in or around the Tysons area. Bike usage has decreased in 2020 since 2020 due to the pandemic, but we do expect for the usage to recover as more people return to work. So we added in the trips for the last 3 years to give you an idea of how much it decreased before since COVID. So now I will discuss the Tysons Neighborhood Traffic Study projects. The purpose of this study was to evaluate existing and future traffic impacts and potential mitigation measures for 30 intersections in the Tysons area. Intersections were chosen based on the Board of Supervisors' input, and locations that are projected to fail by 2030 continue to be monitored annually. Feasibility studies, design, and construction activities are underway for a few of the locations. Here are a few of the projects that are advancing. Lewinsville Road and Spring Hill Road. This study is underway and expected to be completed by summer 2022. A detailed traffic comparison analysis of offset T intersection and conventional intersections is being considered. and the Louisville Coalition virtual meeting to present comparisons analysis for both options was held in spring 2021. Louisville Road and Leesburg Pike. This project is part of the Route 7 widening and is estimated to be completed with the larger project by July 2024 as well. And then Balls Hill Road with Old Dominion Drive. The preferred T-section analysis and improvements option A1 intermediate design was submitted in July 2021, and community information meeting will be held in spring 2022. Moving on to the Dolly Madison Boulevard corridor study. This includes the intersections that are shown below. A community meeting was held in June 2019, and we received a significant amount of feedback, and so staff is working to address those concerns. Multiple meetings have been held with supervisors. I think there's been 3 that have been held so far, and a community meeting will be held in spring 2022. Are there any questions before we move on from that?
Guys, can you go back? That seems like it's more in McLean, right? Or
To Dolly Madison?
yeah.
So it is in McLean, and as part of the approval of the comprehensive plan, there were 31 intersections around Tysons that were identified for potential future study, and that's what's called the Tysons neighborhood improvement. And so they were in McLean, Vienna, and then the area North America. And so this deals with, I think, 7 of those 31. They were combined in one study because of their proximity. So they aren't directly in Tysons, but people going back and forth to Tysons will be going to the study.
And I know, like recently, it must have been like a few months ago, there's a couple pedestrian deaths, right? Bike deaths, like right there. Does the study ever like look into like people who use bikes too?
Well, it is this particular study is mostly dealing with traffic, but there was a fatality near the McLean station, and there's a separate effort looking at that and what things might be able to be done to avoid additional incidents in the future.
Any more questions? Okay, so moving on to from Tyson's projects, here is a brief update on Silverline Phase 2. The project is substantially complete and is now in the operational readiness testing stage. WMATA's board will establish a revenue operations date once the testing phase is completed. And this slide shows the operation readiness testing activities and timeline. Here are pictures of Herndon Station and Reston Town Center Station. And here are a few pictures of Innovation Center Station, Dulles Airport Station, and the Dulles Airport Rail Yard.
Excuse me, Tom, do you have any indication on when operations will begin on the second phase?
So Christina, if you could go back to your slide that has the, go back 2 slides if you would there. So right now, Metro and the Airports Authority are in the operational readiness testing. They are trying to wrap that up by the end of this month. It may go into April. So far, the testing is going pretty well. There haven't been any major problems that have been identified. There have been some things that need to be addressed, but that's why you do this testing to kind of work the bugs out. So once they actually achieve operational readiness, it's approximately 90 days from that time that the rail would open. So it's not a locked in that it would be 90 days, but it's approximately 90 days. So, for example, if they were to achieve operational readiness by the end of March, beginning of April, then we would be looking at probably the end of June, early July for revenue service. Again, assuming that there's no major problems that are identified either in operational readiness or in the pre-revenue activities. So that being said, we're probably talking about summer of 2022, but ultimately the exact date will be set by the Metro Board when the pre-revenue activities are completed. We do think that there will be probably somewhere between 30 and 60 days notice. They'll tell the public, okay, the date is X, here's what we're shooting for. So we're getting very close. I mean, since your last meeting, significant progress has been made towards the final steps of the project. But we still have to finish this operational readiness testing, or actually Metro and the Airports Authority. And like I said, so far, no major hiccups. Hopefully that will be the case as they finish the testing. But once you hear that the testing has been completed, then approximately plus or minus 90, it won't be minus, probably 90 or so days after that will be when the system will be ready. So that's about the best, unfortunately, that I can tell you right now. But I would say that we're getting.
And when was this substantial completion?
Substantial completion was late November for the rail line, and I think it was our first week of December for the yard or something like that. In that time.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions on Silver Line? So now we will cover the revenues collected and assessed values. Between FY14 and FY22, a total of 62 million has been in tax revenues has been collected, and this is about 19.9% of the total revenues estimated to be collected by the service district in the Tysons funding plan. 31.4 million has been previously allocated to projects, and that leaves us an available balance of about 30.4 million. Those funds will be used to partially fund the construction of projects that are currently in design. This chart shows the assessed value history since the service district was created in 2014. The actual growth has been greater than the projected 3% every year, except for in 2021 and 2022. In 2022, the assessed values increased by 2.34% over 2021. And this is consistent with what we are seeing in other commercial areas around the county. This slide shows a comparison of the assessed values between 2021 and 22. The Tyson Service District tax rate remained flat at 5 cents per $100, and Dulles Rail Phase 1 tax rate remained flat at 9 cents. Staff recommended that the tax rate for FY23 be held flat at 5 cents and 9 cents respectively. So to recap, there are a few staff recommendations that require the board to vote. Staff recommends holding the tax rate flat at 5 cents for FY23. And then FCDOT also recommends approving the allocation of up to 7.8 million of service district revenues to continue the design of Route 7 widening from Route 123 to 495. And there's also a few informational items that we wanted to make you aware of. Up to $3.5 million in Greater Streets funds will be allocated to Cleveland Ramp for land acquisition. Up to $2.8 million of Greater Streets funds will be allocated to Lincoln Street for design. And up to $2 million of Tysons Wide Road funds will be allocated to Route 7 widening from 123 to 495. So this concludes the presentation for the evening, and I'll open the floor for discussion of the 23 Service District tax rate recommendation, project allocations, and of course, any questions that you may have.
I was wondering if you could go back a slide. I just had a quick question. So these informational items, are they or are they not like the subcomponents of the 7.8 million?
They're separate.
They're separate. Okay, I was like, yeah, the math didn't add up for me. I was just double checking.
Yeah, so the 7.8 million that we're recommending be allocated is service district funds. And then the funding for Cleveland Ramp and Lincoln Street are coming from a different funding source, which is for the streets. And then the 2 million for Route 7 is the same projects up here, so it actually needs a total of 9.8 million and that will fully fund design, I believe. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, this is Mark Zepps. I have a question for Mr. Basagni. How do you go about allocating money from the Greater Streets Fund? What's the process for doing that?
So the staff makes a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. It'll be a formal board item, and then the board, will consider it and either approve it or send us back for additional information, or they could just deny it. But if we do our homework and we explain to them why we want to allocate the money, we can make a pretty good argument for doing the allocation. But the Board of Supervisors has the final.
So does the board approve all expenditures of the Greater Streets funds? They do, huh? I didn't know that. Okay.
Erica, did you have a question?
Yes. What is in the plans to remediate or to help people who will be trying to cross Route 7? The widening always poses, issues like safety issues, pedestrian and bike safety issues. I mean, we have the pedestrian bridge for Metro, but is there anything else at any other point, along the Tysons area that will help people move from one side of the road to the other?
So in the area that we're talking about here between 123 and 7, the major crossing is at International. And so we'll be looking at upgrading the pedestrian crossings at International. Today, they're pretty minimal. And so as this project would advance, part of the project is to accommodate the BRT in the middle of the roadway. And so as part of that, there'll be what doesn't exist today, which is median refuges, so that people will be able to kind of cross halfway. If they're not able to make it all the way across, they'll have a safe place to wait. But the project will upgrade those crossings there at International. There may also be some additional pedestrian crossings that we would be looking at in the stretch between 123 and 495, but
Thanks. Anything considered underground?
Not at this time. We're not looking at doing any underpasses or any additional overpasses.
Thank you.
So if there isn't any more questions, then I guess the floor can be open to call for a vote.
Okay, are there any other questions?
I guess my one question is, do we think like the county is gonna hold the main real estate tax like the same? I was like reading in the press that they were looking at tinkering with like the personal property tax, but is the county probably gonna keep like the real estate tax constant too?
So the county executive released his budget proposal 2 weeks ago. And as part of his proposal, he held the real estate rate constant at $1.14. However, members of the board from both parties have indicated that they would like to reduce that. So I do anticipate that before they approve the budget on May 10th, that they will reduce the tax rate. I don't know how far they're going to reduce the real estate tax rate, anywhere potentially from 1 to 3 cents, or something in between that. But both parties have indicated that that's something that they want to do. In addition to that, they are looking at personal property tax, which isn't directly related to the real estate tax, but for the first time ever, the value of used cars has actually increased. Typically, when we all get our personal property tax bill in the mail, it's as our cars get older, the personal property tax declines. So each year it goes down a little bit from the year before. Because the value of used cars has increased dramatically over the last year, the trend is that the tax would actually increase unless the board does something. And the board is looking at options right now as to how they could mitigate or reduce that increase. So they haven't decided on an approach, but they are engaged in ongoing discussions about how to deal with the personal property.
Okay, so I mean that might, I guess, need to be a discussion for the group, because like if we set the recommendation at like one rate, can we also say perhaps that if the county reduces it, we just want to match what the county does?
Well, the rate that the advisory board is discussing is the real estate tax rate, which is proposed at 5 cents, which is consistent with where it's been for the last probably 5 or 6 years now. No increase is being proposed for that rate. If the board reduces the underlying rate, then that would come off the general property tax rate, the $1.14. So the advisory board can recommend keeping the rate, or you can recommend reducing the rate, or you could recommend increasing the rate, which I doubt you would want to do, but that's certainly within your purview to do that.
Hey, Tom, on some of the original charts, what would it have been if we hadn't kept it at 5? Wasn't it going to be up around 7% or so?
So the original projection was to go from 4 to 5 to 6 in pretty rapid succession. And then there was a spike probably about 10 years down the road that was going to be up at 7 cents for a couple of years and then come back down again. But when we reran the numbers, and due to the healthy growth in Tysons, we've decided that we can stay at 5 cents and that we don't need to increase the rate above that to be able to meet the projections for the tax district, which I think, and Ray Johnson can correct me, but I think it's 230 million was the projected revenue from the service district over time.
Yeah, 235 and what's it, $2012, give or take. There's a number up here now. I think Christina has the number, the $2022 amount for the service district. Do you know what that is off the top of your head, Christina?
She did have it. I think it was 8 million. Was one of the earlier slides.
It's been collected in 2022, 8.6.
8.6. So that's what essentially what we're collecting a year. So we have rerun the models. So instead of that bump up to 6 cents and ultimately to 7, we project that the service district can meet its obligations by keeping the rate at 5 cents.
Now, Tom, is that, I don't know whether I got my real estate assessment yet or not. I can't remember because I'm down in Florida and kind of getting mail every couple of weeks down here. But the value of the property has gone up considerably, correct, even within the Tysons Corner transportation area. So the 5% will fund quite a bit more, correct?
Yes, the value this year, and Christina, maybe you can go back to the slide that shows one of your very first slides that shows the growth. Like very first slides at there you go. There's the assessed value. So in general, the assessed value has been growing since the service district was implemented in fiscal 2015. But you did see that in 2021, there actually was a drop of about 4.5% in Tysons, and there has been some growth that's been largely recovered in the 2022 assessments. But you're correct. That's one of the reasons we're able to keep the rate at 5 cents is that the growth, the original projections that did that 4, 5, 6, and then ultimately 7 were based on a 3% growth. And you can see, with the exception of 2021 and 2022, we've been well over 3% every year. So that has what led us to say we can hold this at 5 cents. And ultimately, that probably means that the service district can terminate sooner than was originally projected. Or at some point in the future, the rate could go down as at kind of the tail end of the.
Remind me, Tom, what was the sunset?
I think, Ray, it was 30 years, I believe.
Yeah, so when we had done this the first couple of years, there was some interest by the advisory board of kind of dragging the sunset out as long as possible. And I believe that it was late 2040s, early 2050s. And I think using the 5 cent model now, holding it flat, I think that takes the sunset to about the late 2030s.
We can provide those tables too, though. They've been done previously, so we can get you those tables.
And that would be helpful.
Yeah, we can bring that.
I don't believe it precludes us from holding a vote on this rate for this year or for the next fiscal year, but those charts would be useful. We can distribute them.
Yes.
Well, Tom, if you got anything left over, there's always the 7123 intersection.
Yeah, unfortunately, the money from the service district isn't eligible to pay for that. But
yeah, we might
hear
get jail for that.
Any other questions?
Well, if there aren't, would you like me to make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the 5%?
Yes.
Or 0.0, yeah, 05%.
5 cents.
For the rate increase for 2022.
Can I get the second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. And we have one more action, and that, can I get a motion to allocate 7.8 million for the design of Route 7, widening from 123 to 495?
I'll move that.
Can I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion
I
carries.
oppose.
You oppose?
Just don't believe that surface district money should go to the widening of our road.
Okay. One in opposition. Erica? I believe those are the two actions. Christine?
Thank you. So just a few other things to make you aware of. The public hearings for the budget will be held on April 12th to the 14th. So we request that the letter of recommendation to the Board of Supervisors be sent before the public hearings start. So we should have plenty of time to get that in, and the board will adopt the FY23 budget on May 10th. And then we'll follow up. I think we have a couple follow-up items. I'll continue to follow up on the scooter data and then the sunset tables.
Okay.
So I think that is it. I don't see anybody from the public on the meeting to take a question.
I guess I have one last question, and I'm not sure that Tom can answer it or anybody else, but at one point, I believe on the park side, park services, there was some indication of extending the trail from Route 1, from Route 7, from the soccer fields down there up to Freedom Park. Does anyone have any idea whether that's coming along or even whether that's still on the table?
That's something we'll have to connect with the park authority and get you an answer for, but we can provide that information as well. So
Okay.
From Freedom Park to Route 7, is that what you're?
Yeah, down from Route 7, soccer fields, that kind of area, up to Freedom Park, which is right across Old Courthouse, on the other side of Old Courthouse. There's the Fairfax County Water District behind there that they're not going to use, and the Vienna. And I thought at one particular point there was talk about having a trail park going up there, up to Freedom Park. But that was several years ago. I haven't heard anything since then.
So we can check on that with the park authority and provide that information when provide the rest of the information.
That would be great. Thank you.
Sure.
I'm going on permanent mute.
Get back to enjoying your life in Florida.
Right away, Ray. If you have a question, go ahead and ask.
Now, we'll be back April 11th for the summer. So looking forward to it.
Great. There any other business comments? With no further business, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, staff.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, great job.
Thank you, staff. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Everyone.